I swear I have an oral fixation where I just cannot stop sucking.
So who cares? Why not do your own thing and let them say what they want?
What's up guys and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be addressing and exploring attachment styles and going into depth as to which attachment style I think I exhibit and why, while looking really hot, because this is like one of my favorite outfits now, and licking my last red lollipop because the people who came over for Mike's birthday this weekend are fucking assholes, okay? I'll tell you that right now. Like, I had a lot of fucking leftover Halloween candy fucking lollipops, and if you watch me on Instagram, you know that I sit in my Jeep and I drive places doing errands and going back to my own house, and I like to have a lollipop for the drive. However, some hoes be stealing my lollipops, so you fuckers owe me lollipops. Before we get into the brunt of this video, I do want to ask a few questions and clarify a few things. Well, I want to ask one question and clarify like two things. First question is, I absolutely love this skirt. It is by far my favorite skirt ever. I do want to get it hemmed in about 1.5 inches or an inch. I don't know, depending on how fat or skinny I am at the moment. But I really want to know how, if I can provide the fabric, that I can get more of these made in different colors with different patterns. So if you guys know if that's like a thing that tailors do, or if there's a specific word for that that's not tailor that I can look for, or something that I could specifically ask, or someone I can go to, please do let me know in the comments, because I would really love to have this in like black, in like sheer, in maybe like a different floral print, because I love it so fucking much. It has pockets, it has buttons, it's really flattering. It also is like high-waisted, but you can also wear it a little lower depending on how big you get it. I just love it so much. To clarify a few things, in my last video, I talked about forgiving myself for lying to Jay back in the day and continuing the lie up until recently. And I got more than one disturbing comment talking about how the moment you forgive yourself is the moment that you're gonna do it again, that you're gonna make more mistakes, that it's completely awful to forgive yourself. It's literally the worst thing I've ever read in my life, and it made my heart hurt, because usually when I read comments from you guys that involve criticism, I'm usually like, oh, that's interesting, I'll take it to heart. But these were so fucking obviously projections from people who have not forgiven themselves. Like, I spent 5 years, if not more, literally making up that Jay was the problem in my head because I couldn't rationalize, because I couldn't fix the cognitive dissonance in my mind that was, I am now a truth teller through and through, and I think that's one of the most important axioms of my beliefs. And then I also have this lie that I created. Like, I was in denial, and that's how I was coping. So not forgiving yourself and not facing head on that, look, I made a mistake, look, I know I'm not perfect, I'm not gonna feign perfection, and I'm just gonna forgive myself but not forget, and then strive to be better with the knowledge that I did fuck up and it's not someone else's fault in mind. That is so important. Self-forgiveness is so fucking important. So anyone who doesn't think that they should forgive themselves, no matter what they did, as long as they are sorry for what they did and exhibit different behaviors contrary to that mistake that they made, forgiving yourself is a big part of moving on and still loving yourself and knowing yourself better and not perpetuating these harmful fucking coping mechanisms that can actually make you do it again because you're not actually looking at what you did head on and accepting it. Next, when I mentioned that Hunter doesn't want me to talk about his sex life anymore, our sex life, or his dick or whatever, or anything like that on social media, a lot of people were saying, girl, he controlling you. He telling you what to talk about, who to talk about, and not be yourself, etc. Like, I cannot stress enough that, like, yeah, that very general idea of like, don't have your partner control you makes sense, and I agree, but it does not apply here. Like, imagine if I was like more of a Logan Paul figure and my job was to like be obnoxious as fuck. Imagine if one of the ideas I had for a video was to run into his law office, take my fucking tits out in front of a bunch of clients and be like, whoa, I'm Hunter Davidson's fucking girlfriend. I almost said wife, that was horrible. Mwah. I'll lick to that. But imagine if that was like a thing that I had in my head to like be entertaining. Obviously, he can't completely stifle what I say or my personality or change anything about my personality or anything. But this is not that. This is just asking for a little bit of discretion so that I don't negatively affect his very mainstream job. And obviously, I'm gonna ask for a little bit of leeway. I'm gonna be like, can we do cutesy stuff? Can I mention you? Can I talk about, I even asked, I said, can I talk about the things that I like sexually? Even though it kind of implies implies that you probably do them without actually mentioning your name. And he was like, yeah, and he never asked me to like take anything down. That video, the lingerie video, is probably like not great for him and won't be great for him in the future, but he didn't ask me to take anything down. He just said, from here on out, I can't be in those videos, don't talk about my dick on social. Like, that's basically it. And I think having those kinds of boundaries, especially when they make sense rationally and they are gonna affect both of our income if we continue to be together and happen to pool our income at any point, it's gonna affect his future. Like, obviously we have to compromise on this because we have very dichotomous fucking jobs. Like, I actually make a joke about how like his living is to basically be a professional liar and my living is basically to be a professional truth teller. I know a lot of people like in the esports industry and in YouTube industry even want to not even associate with me in public for fear of possibly my political views or my view on sex or my openness or something could negatively affect them, which is at that point a little too much, and also fuck you because I'm amazing and associating with me is great. Attachment theory. Attachment theory is something made by some old dude. I want to preface this by saying, do your own research on this because I'm going to break this down very, very simply. I'm not going to go into depth on it. I will link some resources down in the description of videos and reading and quizzes that you can do to find more about this topic, because I'm not giving you the dude's name. I'm not giving you the hundreds of different fucking synonyms that they use for each of these terms. I'm just going to go ahead and talk about it broadly so then I can actually focus in and talk about it with myself. But as I talk, I would love to hear, after you do your research, which attachment style you think you exhibit and why you think you exhibit it. Because attachment style is how we attach to people in our lives, whether it is relationships that are romantic or friendships, and it has quite a bit to do with how you were raised or early traumas, early friendships, early relationships in your life that kind of shaped your view of relationships and love and friendship. So there are three main types, and then there's a fourth type that kind of combines the last two types. So the first type is secure. It's basically the perfect loadout for a relationship. If you are creating a character in a video game like in Dark Souls or something and you can give it points, you would want to give all the points into these things to have this perfect loadout and basis upon which to build a healthy relationship. Secure attachment is basically being able to open up, but not being too clingy, being independent, but also being able to let your guard down and share your life with someone. It's basically just being a balanced, good, emotionally intelligent human being. And usually people with secure attachment had secure attachments to their caregivers / parents growing up. So they had a lot of love, but they also had a lot of independence. Next, there is insecure attachment. Insecure attachment is also called like anxious avoidant, I think. I don't know, who the fuck cares about the extra synonyms, as I said before. Insecure attachment is basically being really clingy, needing a lot of affection and love. Often you have self-esteem issues. You think that you're not as great as other people, or specifically your love interests and friends. You think you'll never be good enough, and therefore you kind of just grasp at people and cling on to them a little too much. This one is one that I identify with quite a bit, although I don't have like the self-esteem jealousy issues. However, I think when I was a teenager, I did. So I think now when I took the tests, I was like a 40% insecure anxious attachment person and a 60% secure attachment person. But I think if I had taken the test 10 years ago, or maybe even less, I would have been like an 80-90% anxious insecure attachment person, because I do exhibit a lot of these traits just naturally. And we will talk about the theories as to why I exhibit these behaviors, because it's very confusing to me. It's not very straightforward to me, at least in my memory, but I do remember exhibiting those behaviors when I was very, very young, before I could have really ever had anything in my past that really established that in me. So it's kind of weird. Very, very indeed. The third style is avoidant. And this is basically the people who deep down probably do want love and commitment and closeness, but they often push people away when they feel that the people are getting too close for fear of just how that will feel to be close to someone. They're insecure about being close, opening up. They're extremely independent. They act like they don't need anyone. Often they would rather have sex with strangers than have sex with a long-term partner because that makes it more intimate. Like anything with intimacy is kind of like something that they would shy away from. And I'm not quite clear exactly on the family growing up up caretaker styles of these two, of insecure and of avoidant. I think insecure is like a hot and cold parent. So a parent that's like really loving at times and then sometimes cold when you need them to be loving. And then avoidant would probably be like someone left you in your life. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And then that fourth one that combines avoidant with insecure is usually called like fearful or disorganized. This one is one that people say usually stems from having like actual trauma in their childhood, like someone actually doing them wrong or leaving them in a time of need or whatever, but I'm not sure about that. Do your research. And this is basically people who desperately cling when the person is pulling away, and then when they get really close, they push them away. And often it's more violent, it's more abusive. It doesn't necessarily have to be, I think, but like it's more of a turbulent roller coaster type thing than having one set way of doing things. Now, when I took the test, as I said, I got 60%-ish secure and about 40% insecure anxious. This, for me, put a lot of perspective on the way that I view relationships, because you guys know a lot of the things that I've said. Just try to like add the context of kind of secure and then also insecure attachment styles onto like everything that I've said, onto the like not liking when a guy travels away from me for a few weeks, onto the like moving fast, being clingy, onto the loving intimacy and probably idealizing my partner a little bit. Like all of these things are traits that I have. I definitely need someone who I can respect even after the idealization of the honeymoon phase has worn off. I definitely want someone who I can put up on a pedestal. The weird thing about it though is I don't have the insecure attachment issues where I have self-esteem issues. So I really like myself and I work really hard on myself, and I want someone who is gonna be able to make me even better. So while I do look at myself as lesser than my partner often, or wanting to be lesser than my partner, it's not like I'm a piece of shit, oh my god, no one will love me. It's like the person who should love me should be someone that I can benefit from in terms of self-actualization. So that's kind of where I think I stand. And obviously a lot of people are gonna say like, oh, you can't be this or you can't be that, or you can't be 60-40, you can't be a mishmash of things. But importantly, when you're looking at stuff like this, especially soft sciences like psychology and psychoanalytic theory and stuff, you need to always remember that there's gonna be nuance and there's gonna be like gray areas, and these are just mechanisms which you can use to give yourself context so that you can better understand yourself, because I really feel like understanding yourself is a fucking superpower. Because once you understand your strengths and your weaknesses, you can play off of that into being a better person, having better outcomes in relationships. And I think understanding this attachment theory thing, even if it might be a sort of Freudian style pseudoscience to a lot of people who don't like psychoanalytic theory anymore and like behavioral cognitive theory a little bit more, I think it's just important to think about these as theories and apply them as much as you can without over applying them to the point where you're like, I don't know what I am because I exhibit characteristics from all four. So my childhood, really fucking weird. I had two things in my childhood that like I don't even understand and I can't explain and it makes no sense and I don't understand the rationale behind it. But like when I was really, really little, living in our like shitty apartment, my mom used to kiss me before she went to work every day and say goodbye. Like so sweet, right? But there was one day that she forgot. And I remember running out of the apartment and like crying and being like, Mom, come back. Like if that's not fucking anxious / insecure attachment manifesting itself, I don't know what is. Then later on, when I'm in school, it's so weird that I remember these small tidbits, but don't remember like the grand scheme of everything. I remember my dad being my best friend growing up, and we would spend a lot of time adventuring, and I always looked up to him because I liked video games and I liked playing sports, and I was like, oh yeah, this guy's the cool guy, while my mom's over here like worrying about our safety and finances and stuff, you know, all the important adult things that I can't grasp even now, you know? I'm just kidding, I'm a pretty good adult, but obviously when hanging out as a kid, you're gonna trend toward the parental figure. What the fuck is wrong with my mouth? Doesn't have anything in it at the moment, that's what. Parental figure who is going to be more laid back and more fun. It's just natural. So I would play video games with my dad. I liked hanging out with my dad. And I remember when I started going to school, I had this crazy anxiety, separation anxiety from being away from my parents so much that I would like cry and freak out. And then later on it manifested as like such bad stomach aches every single day that people thought I was lying about often, that I think I almost created an ulcer within myself at a very, very young age. I remember my mom was like, your grandma has ulcers, and I'm like, but I'm like 2. So it was very weird to have that separation anxiety from my my parents, and I cannot recall a single moment in my life where my parents were hot and cold. When I was younger, they were very, very affectionate and caring, and I was like their world, and still am. They have different personality types. Obviously, they might bicker or something, but like they were always together. Everything was very healthy. Maybe there's some kind of like coddling that they did that was a little too much love, to the point where I just like needed them to be around all the time because I'm used to like an insane amount of love. But every time I listen to insecure attachment theory stuff, it's always talking about like a mom or dad being hot or cold, or like your mom or dad or caretaker is there and then they aren't. And that was like never the case for me. I never had any of this like reason to be insecure. Maybe I'm just insecure with every other relationship because I had such great love. But then again, I had great love and I was still exhibiting those behaviors as a child. So what is going on? Maybe because they were so doting on me, the fact that my mom would even forget once was like, she doesn't love me anymore. But where would I get that idea from? Why wouldn't I just think it's kind of normal and develop more secure attachment attributes? I worked very hard to get to a place where I feel like I'm at secure attachment mode. Often I will overthink things. I have immense trust issues. And those are both traits that definitely come with the insecure, anxious attachment style. And I've developed ways to deal with these things because I have realized that like when you ask for validation constantly, you end up pushing that person away who definitely probably does love you. I even told Hunter, it's funny, a lot of these things are coming back up more now that I'm in a relationship that's new, so I'm not as secure in it. And I told Hunter, like, you know, when we have downtime or when things aren't like amazingly good and it's just like we're chilling or something very small happens, like I often feel insecure about our relationship. And I think there's a maturity there and there's a secure attachment aspect there that I can like just say that instead of lashing out, because they do say that like all of these attachments that are not the secure ones will often not be able to identify what's actually going on within them and why they're doing it. So therefore they'll lash out or they'll demand things or they'll end up pushing the person away inadvertently because they actually don't know how to have an adult conversation about things and be mature. So it's really interesting to me that you can kind of game the system and get to a secure attachment style, even if within you still have some of these inklings within yourself that are not necessarily the most rational. This is why I love logic so much, because you can apply it to make outcomes better for yourself. And it's like a tool within which you can understand your emotions. So I think I'm not of the camp of completely turning off emotions anymore. I still am of the camp of I'd rather feel nothing rather than something bad. A lot of people and a lot of fucking songs romanticize this whole like, I'd rather feel pain than nothing at all. But it's like, no, bad, awful, horrible. So obviously I'm still gonna try to avoid those awful feelings, but most often I'm gonna overcorrect by using logic rather than, you know, taking some numbing medication or some crazy shit or self-medicating with drugs. Still don't like drugs. Oh, this is so good, but I'm gonna put it away for the end of this video because I just can't stop sucking. I swear I have an oral fixation where I just cannot stop sucking. But my question for you guys is if you have any insight on what I've said here or any other attributes you've seen me talk about in the past that you can add to certain attachment styles and put the context around it. I think that's really interesting. You can be like, hey, remember when you made that one video and you said this one thing? That's definitely you being an anxious attachment person. Or take the test down in the description, read more about it, watch some videos, and tell me what yours is, and try really hard. Like, I challenge you guys to introspect with me and self-actualize with me and find out why you do things that you do that might turn out to be toxic and pushing people away and actually against your main goal. Because I think everyone's main goal is to, whichever kind of relationship you want with whomever you want, is to always just be loved and feel secure and not feel like you constantly have to work or fight or have drama, because I hate drama. I love you guys so much. If you guys didn't hear, YouTube did demonetize my entire channel. Wonderful, I know. I tried to reach out. They're not even answering me. It's fucking horrible. But if you want to support this channel, other than watching my videos and fucking hitting the bell icon and everything so you know that I actually upload, you can support me on Patreon or OnlyFans. The link to those will be in the description. I really appreciate it. I do the sexier stuff over there as well. So if you like the fan service to go along with the philosophy, that will be there. You are the best, and I will see you guys in the next video. Please don't leave me. Do you guys love me? I know, but do you like really love me? Like, how can I know? Bye.